Our next presenter here at Save Lives U currently serves as the chairman of the board of Heartbeat International, an organization she served on the board for 30 years of. And she previously also served as the president of Heartbeat International for 22 years, from 1993 to 2015. She co-founded Heartbeat International's Option Line in 2002, which you're going to hear more about during this conversation today. And she's been involved, along with her husband, Mike, in the pro-life movement since 1973, working in the educational and then political and legislative arm of the movement, before then getting involved in helping those in the midst of crisis pregnancies as early as 1974. She is a dear friend of mine and somebody I've been blessed to co-labor with in the pro-life movement for a long, long time. I would like you to please join me in welcoming to Save Lives U the chairman of Heartbeat International, Peggy Hartshorn. Peggy, how are you today?
I'm great, David, and it's great to be talking to you, dear friend. And I love the fact that you have a wonderful group of focused students and friends that are eager to learn. And as I said to you a little before we started, pass the torch of this mission onto this wonderful pro-life generation.
Indeed. Well, Peggy, during this summit today, we have some presenters who are going to be diving directly into some pro-life apologetics, albeit with a little bit of a specific angle towards using ways to talk about life in a way that can reach a woman in need. But what is different about pro-life apologetics, and what needs to be said to really reach a woman in that valley of decision, as you describe it?
Yeah. Well, I was into pro-life apologetics, particularly in the early years, as you mentioned, when we really thought that education and information and knowledge and even pictures of the unborn baby would turn people around on this issue. And what we discovered was that's not really what moves people. And with the love approach and with the missionary emphasis of focus, I think what the beauty of this part of our mission is, the love approach, talking directly to women who may need help. The beauty of it is you don't have to worry about whether I have the right answer. Did I bring all my footnotes and resources and studies? This is not about having the right answer. And that relieves you so much of that burden of being afraid I'm going to say something wrong. Because really, when you're using the love approach, sometimes you don't have to say much at all. It all focuses on her, and it focuses on her story or his story. If you're talking to a young man who may be faced, his girlfriend may be faced with an unplanned pregnancy. Mm-hmm. So it's all about relationship, and it's not about having the right answer. And to me, that's so freeing. Mm-hmm. And it's also about allowing the Lord to work through us, because the love approach is all about the love of the Lord coming through us. And so we can rely on that and on the Holy Spirit as we use the love approach.
Mm-hmm. So Peggy, just to kind of dig into this a little bit, when somebody runs into a student who is facing an unexpected pregnancy, why is what you're describing as the love approach so critically needed?
Well, it's needed because if the person has come to you, if you find out that she has an unexpected pregnancy or she's struggling with this in some way, if somehow you're involved, it's such a wonderful opportunity to be the loving, caring person that God has called you to be. And it's a privilege. It's a privilege to be able to help her at this particular moment in her life. It's a moment that we say it's an opportunity for self-gift, that God has allowed you to have an impact, potential impact on this person's life at a really important moment. And we call it the love approach, David, because we're called with all of our fellow human beings, when we have the opportunity, to radiate to them the love of God, to be God, his hands and feet. And I want to read to you just a little passage, which I'm sure you and the listeners are very familiar with, 1 Corinthians 13, St. Paul's so-called hymn to love, where he describes this kind of behavior. He says, love is patient, love is kind, it is not jealous, love is not pompous, it is not inflated, it is not rude, it does not seek its own interests, it is not quick-tempered, it does not brood over injury, it does not rejoice over wrongdoing, but rejoices with the truth. It bears all things, believes all things, hopes all things, endures all things. Love never fails. And St. Paul tells us that if I can speak in human and angelic tongues but don't have love, I'm a resounding gong or a clanging cymbal. And so no matter how much we know, no matter how much we want to share information, no matter how much we want to influence, if we don't have love, we're coming across as a resounding gong or a clanging cymbal. If I have the gift of prophecy, comprehend all mysteries, have all knowledge, and have all faith so as to move mountains, but do not have love, I am nothing. So it's not that we can prepare for these moments in an intellectual way. In other words, we're not filling ourselves up with all of the facts about abortion. We're not having with us all of the good links to the videos on the internet. We're not having all the best books about this issue. We're having ourselves to bring to another person. And one of the things that Heartbeat loves to share with people is the best alternative to abortion is another person.
So Peggy, so if you can walk us through, I know, having heard you talk about the love approach before, that LOVE is actually an acronym. Can you walk us through exactly what the love approach is and use that to empower those who are wanting to be able to connect and help somebody in a time of need?
Sure. And that's why you don't have to be afraid of forgetting anything. We even have this little acronym, LOVE. The first step, if someone comes to you or you know that they may be pregnant, or thinking they might be pregnant, or they are pregnant, or even if, and we'll talk about this a little more, they've even taken the first pill of the RU486 drug. We're having more and more people come to us who are in the process of an abortion, which can be reversed. So we want to talk about that a little bit later. But when you have that opportunity, the first thing you need to do is just sit down in a place where you can have eye-to-eye contact with this person, where she knows or he knows that they have your full attention. And you simply say, tell me about it. Tell me what's happening. Just what's happening with you, you know? And then when they start to tell you, tell me more about it. Well, what did he say at that point? Well, how did you feel when that happened? And what we're listening for is really what Heartbeat teaches. We call the areas of awareness. Her thoughts, feelings, wants, values, and beliefs. What is she thinking about this? How is she feeling? And the feelings are so important. And feelings are physical. Sometimes people will say something like, well, I feel that you're not listening to me. Well, that's not a feeling, that's a thought. You know, feelings are, I'm really afraid. I'm confused. I'm lonely. You know, I just don't know what to do. All right, there's a combination there of a thought, I don't know what to do, and the feelings. So you're drawing her out and just saying, well, tell me more. And like I said before, if she says, you can say to her, have you told your boyfriend? Because one of the things we know is that the attitude of the father of the child is one of the most important things in what a girl ultimately decides to do at this particular point. So you can ask her some really important questions. Have you told your parents? Because again, parents are another important factor in what she decides to do. And then you're not responding at this point at all. You're simply drawing her out, getting more and more of the story. And we call it listen and learn, because at that point, you're also learning about her. You're learning what's putting pressure on her. Is she being coerced? And by the way, studies show that vast majorities of women say there was some kind of pressure or coercion involved in her decision. She really felt pressure, and it wasn't a free choice. So you may be hearing things like that, and you're registering that. Oh, she's feeling pressure. She's being coerced. She feels abandoned by her boyfriend. You know, one of the main responses we get when we ask girls, how have you told your boyfriend? What was his response? And she'll say, well, he said the decision was really up to me. And then a great question to ask after that is, well, how did you feel when he said that? Because in reality, most women don't feel empowered. Now I'm liberated. My boyfriend says the decision's up to me. They feel abandoned. They feel alone. And often they'll say something like, well, I thought maybe he would say, it's my baby too. Or I thought maybe he'd say, how can I help you? So you keep pursuing the story, and you are learning. It's listening and learning, because you're learning about her, what's putting pressure on her, how does she feel. And once you've established the relationship, and you can tell when that relationship is developing, you're moving closer together, your eye contact is intense. Sometimes you're really feeling her feelings. Sometimes when I'm doing this with a girl or a woman, I'm almost as confused at the end as she is about what she's telling me. It's so difficult. It's so confusing. And she can tell when you have developed that relationship, and you'll know that with her. Mm-hmm. And at that point, one of the most important things you can ask her about is, what do you really want to do? Mm. And David, in all these years, once I've established that relationship, I've never had a woman say, I want to have an abortion. I've never heard one say that. And it reminds me, I'm sure you remember the study years and years ago by Frederica Matthews Green, in which she interviewed hundreds and hundreds of women who had had abortions. And her book is about their feelings and the coercion they felt, and the pressure and the confusion. And what she said that was so powerful is that a woman wants to have an abortion like an animal whose leg is in a trap wants to gnaw off his own leg. And yet that's what the animal will, of course, often do. And so that's what we need to remember, that women are so confused and so pressured and so stressed. And so we need to be there right with them, and feeling that and getting established the relationship before we even have to say much at all. But that leads into the other steps of the love approach.
Well, keep on going. Let's go through them. We don't have a ton of time, but I would love to get us unpacked completely here.
Okay. Well, once you know that you've established that relationship, right, and you've listened to her, then you've earned the right. And she, at this point, will most likely be listening to you. She'll want to know what you have to say. Right. And this is when you can open options. This is when you can talk about her options. And of course, in the pregnancy centers, and when I'm talking to a woman one-on-one, really we know that there are parenting options, and then there's the option of abortion. And the way we think of parenting options, there's single parenting, there's parenting through marriage, and there's parenting through choosing a family and making an adoption plan for your child. Those are all parenting options. But what we generally find, if a woman is considering abortion, you can plant seeds about those other options. For instance, I might say, my 2 children are adopted, and their mothers made a choice for life. But if that's planting a seed about adoptions someplace along in this conversation. But if a woman has not ruled out abortion, she really is not much interested in any of the other options at this point. That's, again, something we've established by research. Choosing life is really a 2-step process. First, they have to rule out abortion. And then they will focus on the other parenting, on the parenting options. All right. So if she's really considering abortion, if you found that out in listening and learning, you need to help her along the way in finding out more about abortion. You can be factual in talking about how abortions are performed, about potential complications. But the very best way we found of helping overcome all those fears and obstacles that she believes she has at this point is the ultrasound. Mm. So if you can help her find an ultrasound, and here's the Pregnancy Help Network, which we'll get into in a minute. We've got ultrasounds all over this country, free ultrasound services. That helps her really begin to bond with her baby. Now it's not just a baby or a pregnancy, because abortion is so looming in her mind. Now it's my baby, and that maternal instinct kicks in. But ultrasound is not a magic bullet. It's not a magic wand. Still, the human relationship is so important. The person performing the ultrasound for her, the person looking at her ultrasound pictures later and helping her really continue to bond with her baby. And this could be perhaps one of the people listening today that has the opportunity to actually help a woman even look at that ultrasound afterwards and help her begin to sort through her maternal instincts. So the option stage, you can be personal in the options if you've had a story or of stories to share with her. And you can also be, but the important thing is to be person-centered,
Right.
centered on her. If you start talking about the baby too soon, she will think that you don't care about her. All right, she will begin to kind of tune out what you're saying. Here's another person who doesn't get it, doesn't get me, doesn't get all the pressure that I'm under. So be very careful in the option step that if you think it's time to talk about the baby, that you really are doing it in a person-centered way, focusing on this woman still. All right, so the option step, you need to be very factual, informational, but do it in a relational way, keeping up that one-on-one trust that you have established. And she may tell you more as you're introducing options. So you're still listening and learning, focusing on her. And then the V step, David, the third step in the love approach. This is where I think those who are listening will be particularly interested, because this is what we call introducing a new vision and value. And it can be as simple as, you're not a failure. You're not stupid, because this is often what girls will say. I feel so stupid. I should have known how to prevent this. I feel so dumb. Why did I let this happen? And how could I have been fooled by him? And they just feel they're so down on themselves. So one of the easy new visions you can introduce here is that, so many women have been in your place. Don't blame yourself. You are still a valuable, very special person, created in the image and likeness of God. You've got goodness inside of you. And here's where, if your listeners really feel led by the Spirit, this is the time that they can really share the truth in love with her. The truth in love. The truth that she really is loved by Jesus. The fact that she's been redeemed by Jesus. That she can be forgiven. That this is the first day of the rest of her life. You can get into the good news of the gospel with a woman in this kind of a situation. It's a perfect opportunity. She's at a teachable moment, but it has to be done in the context of the relationship. Right. So I love the V step, because here's now your turn to share with her a real message of hope. And that's what she really needs, of course. So, and another very simple way of sharing in the V step is this sharing, this encouragement that you can do it, because she feels like such a failure. She often doesn't think, I can't carry this baby to term. I could never be a mother. I can't do this. And you can say to her, you can do it. There is always help and hope. And that leads to the E step, which is extend and empower. How do we actually provide concrete help so that she can do it? And in reality, there are some specific things. I can remember talking to college students myself. One of our pregnancy centers has an office right across the street from the Ohio State University here in Columbus, Ohio. And I know many centers have campus offices. We hear the stories of students. They're often very specific things. I can remember one student who was really afraid that she was going to lose her swimming scholarship. And if she couldn't swim, she couldn't go to college. All right, well, one of the things we needed to work at in the E step was going to that coach. How could she approach that person? And would there be a potential for her to keep her scholarship in any other way? So there may be very concrete and specific issues and problems that need to be worked in the E step to make a plan to help her actually take that positive step forward. Maybe the first part of that E step is telling her parents. Maybe the first step is having another discussion with her boyfriend. Maybe the first step is getting an appointment at a local pregnancy center where she can have an ultrasound. So each case will be different, but in extend and empower, we have to let her know that there are actual solutions to the problems that she's facing, and that we're going to help her along the way to find those concrete things that she needs.
Amen.
So this is a place, David, where I'd like to talk a little bit too about Heartbeat's Option Line. You
Yeah,
mentioned that I had that blessing of helping found Option Line.
Absolutely. And Peggy, just to sum up, I just want to say, I love the fact this is such an easy acronym, LOVE.
Yeah.
It's easy for all of us to remember. Listen, options, vision and value, expand and empower. And for those who have, they've taken this in and they certainly, I want to at the end also give people a way that they can learn more about Heartbeat and learn more about the Love approach. But let's switch gears, because we mentioned this during the introduction about Option Line. And we're not trying to equip focused missionaries and students to become full-fledged crisis counselors. If they use that Love approach, then how do they help someone get the resources that they really need to carry that pregnancy, that child to term and be able to give birth?
Well, I can think of a couple ways that Option Line could be very helpful.
Okay.
First of all, if they look at optionline.org and put in the zip code, they will find all of the pregnancy centers within a certain mile radius of wherever this person is located. And so, and on the optionline.org site, they'll also find the services that those pregnancy centers provide. So if they're looking for a place to refer the girl for an option, for an ultrasound, they can find that. If they're looking for a maternity home, let's say they even are talking to someone who's actually at the point where she's continuing the pregnancy but needs housing, some kind of specific resource. Maybe they're talking to a person who's had an abortion and they also need post-abortion resources and healing resources. They can find those also in the listings on Option Line. So this is a good place for them to actually find concrete help and support for the person they're talking to. They could even call Option Line. It's interesting. We've had sidewalk counselors who have run into a Spanish-speaking woman going into an abortion clinic, and they need help in talking to her because perhaps they don't speak Spanish. That could happen to one of the people who's listening as well. And Option Line has 24/7, 365 days a year. We have bilinguals on our Option Line that have sometimes even helped a little bit of translation. Somebody listening to this who wants to help a pregnant woman could call Option Line themselves and say, I've got a client I've been talking to. I need some help in how to proceed. Option Line could do a little coaching for them as well. Right. So they can use Option Line to find resources. They can refer their client to Option Line. Right. And at any time of the day, that woman that they're working with can chat, can instant message, can text, can email, can call a caring, loving woman on the other line, one of us, who's there on Option Line. So it's a great resource, optionline.org, and the phone number.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask. Go for the phone number.
Right. Yeah, it's 1-800-712. You can remember that, 712, 7 days a week, 12 months of the year, help. 1-800-712-HELP.
1-800-712-HELP.
Yeah, and I think is that 4336? Wait a minute, I'll figure that out because some phones don't even have those. Let's make sure we know. Let's see. 4357. Yes, 4357. 1-800-712-4357.
Okay. And in this,
or optionline.org.
And to stay in time, Peggy, I was just going to say, this is something that's in the pocket of just about every student all the time. And when you encounter somebody and you keep in mind the Love approach, but then you say, what do I do next? If you have pulled up, you could bookmark the optionline.org, or you could have the number programmed in as a contact. You literally could in seconds be helping that person, providing them the resources they need without you having to be the expert on all these topics.
Absolutely. And Option Line will follow her up. Absolutely.
Amen.
So the other interesting thing, David, I wanted to mention that Option Line Heartbeat has recently become the home of the Abortion Pill Rescue Network. So that Option Line now answers calls as well. And Heartbeat has within our network the doctors and nurses and pregnancy health centers that are part of the network to reverse the abortion pill. If any of the focused missionaries ever talk to a woman or hear of a woman who has taken the first pill in the RU486 and has second thoughts, which many of them do, and says, oh, I didn't want this abortion. Now what do I do? Is there any way that I can avoid taking the second pill? Yes, there is. And that network has already had over 500 babies born for women who have undergone the protocol, which is very simple to help reverse that first pill. So it's such a blessing, and I want everybody to know that. And also, I wanted them to know if they would like just a one-page handout on the love approach, a little cheat sheet.
Great.
Heartbeat also has that on our website, David.
Okay.
Which is on the heartbeatinternational.org website. And they would just select Get Involved. There's a little place they can say Get Involved, and then it brings up the ability to download the love approach.
Great.
So they can download the love approach, print it off, and they've got a little one-page cheat sheet. But remember, like you said, it's so easy to remember.
Yeah.
Listen and learn, open options, introduce a new vision and value, and extend and empower, and just be yourself. Be the loving, caring person that God is going to be working through.
Indeed.
And so you don't have to be afraid to use it. And you don't have to ever be afraid of, I said the wrong thing, or I didn't say the right thing, and I found out this person chose an abortion. You know, it's so important to remember that God is using you, and yet leaves the person that free will. And you are not responsible for their choice. And it's a relief, too. It keeps us from pride to realize we're not responsible for their choice for life either. That's right. God is working through them, through us, and through them to make a choice for life.
Amen. Well,
It's
Peggy,
not all up to me.
Indeed, and that's a good way to end. I thank you. We've run out of time here, but I just want to say to everybody, first off, keep in mind, you've just gotten a treasure trove of practical information that has helped to save tens of thousands of children all around the world through the work of Heartbeat International and their affiliated pregnancy centers, in large part due to the leadership of Peggy Hartshorn and Jorel Godsey, their current president. I absolutely love them, and I would encourage you to make optionline.org your one-stop shop. If you say, I don't remember all the things that Peggy talked about, that's where you go first to be able to connect somebody to help they need. Go to heartbeatinternational.org, and we'll also send out afterwards links to all of these websites that you can follow up with them as well. And Peggy, I just thank you so much for being a part of Save Lives U. And just if you could, in one sentence, is there any closing thought you would have for those who are trying to make a life-changing and life-saving impact on campus?
The only thing I would say is be the kind of person that someone will come up to and share this with. And one thing that I've made a commitment to, I never talk about abortion without also talking about healing after. And so that no one would ever have to say, I heard her say, how could anyone ever have an abortion? And therefore I couldn't share with her. No, what they've heard you say is the truth about abortion, but the loving fact that healing and hope is available. Absolutely. And we love women, and we want to help and support them.
Indeed. All right. Peggy Hartshorn, Heartbeat International, thank you so much. God bless you and have a good rest of the day.
Thank you, David. You too.